Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal! Molineux in all its magnificence.
Good evening. Welcome to Wolves Fancast review show for Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. It's nice to smile. Joining here tonight as on the show by Stu, Pricey and Luke. As always, brought to you by Fancast, part of the 90-bin football family. I mean, we're still riding the euphoria, aren't we? I mean, we just said a minute ago talking about riding the wave. But how are you feeling, Stu? I mean, you must be feeling fantastic still.
First time beating them in our lifetime. Not just beating them, humiliated them, smashing them to pieces. It's you drink yourself to sleep many times watching Wolves, drinking yourself into happiness and it not ending, and then having to take your son to swimming lesson and sit in a very, very humid situation for half an hour trying to sweat it all out. It doesn't even matter. It's absolutely fine because it's days like these. Like we had them like when we beat Man United under the first time we got promoted in 2003-4, and that was we've finally done something. And then obviously it all went tits up. And then under Mick, and it was like, we beat Chelsea and whatever. Then Spurs away, and then you come to the Liverpool and you think, we beat them at Anfield a couple of times. But to not beat them in the league since 1981 was a bit ridiculous, and it was borderline Huddersfield. And now it's finally been done with. And in that style, it's glorious times. And the fact that we'll come on to it later, all the stuff that's gone on since, and Klopp being a whiny little baby again, it just had fuel to the excellent fire that we've got. It's amazing.
Couldn't have put it better myself. I mean, Luke, I know you watched it from home, but it was enjoyable. How did you find the atmosphere? Because it felt like we were, everyone was more pumped up and there was more feeling and belief that we could get something out of that game.
It felt like a proper Wolves game to me yesterday. 3 p.m. kickoff, underdogs. The crowd were behind the team. Second half, I know Liverpool started well, but I do feel the fans inside the ground let them down slightly for the first 15 minutes because it was quiet. It reminded me very much so of Villa away, where the fans were absolutely superb in the first half. Second half went a bit quiet. But, got ourselves together, got behind the boys again. The Steve Bull started it, may I add. Got the third goal. And happy days again. It felt like Wolves were back. It felt like a proper game of football yesterday. And I mean, like I mentioned earlier, to me, that is what Wolves is about. 3 p.m. on a Saturday, Wolves at home. I just feel that's because of, especially our generation, what we're accustomed to is 3 p.m. on a Saturday. When we was growing up, we never played on a Sunday. Play on a Tuesday maybe, but we never played Sundays or bloody Friday evenings or whatever because we were shit. So we always played at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So it just felt proper. It felt Wolves yesterday.
And how about you, Pricey? How are you doing today after the euphoric achievements of yesterday?
I am still euphoric. I'm still on a high. I've been blowing up balloons all night for my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so I'm feeling high as a kite at the minute. But yeah, I can only echo what the guys have said, to be honest. I mean, right from the get-go. So we've talked. There's been a lot of talk, hasn't there, online for the past week or so about atmosphere and what comes first. That in this chicken or egg scenario, do the fans chant for the team, or should the team play well for the fans to start chanting? Well, yesterday we got a bit of evidence of both. Really, we had the change up a bit pre-game. The music they took all the grime stuff away and replaced it with Led Zepp, and no goal music. And the team got off to the team did their bit. right from the get-go, they were on it straight away. And as Luke said, it's back. I think it's back to like the days of like about 4-5 seasons ago. First year under Nuno, it was fans behind them right since minute one. Sorry, I was laughing at Hunger like the Wolves comments there. I'm assuming he's referring to Luke being like Raul his dad. The fans were right behind the team from minute one. It was great. It's been a long time coming, that sort of performance and the atmosphere as well. That was like a proper Nuno first season back in the Premier League days. To be honest, I must admit a bit of ignorance here. I didn't realise it had been so long since we beat Liverpool at home, top flight. I knew it was a while, but I only thought it was like 10 years or something. I didn't realise. Was it really 1981?
Yeah, we've never beaten in the Premier League era. Because it was when I mentioned it in the group chat on, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week. I was thinking, I can't remember us like we've beaten one of the others at least once out of in our three attempts at being a Premier League club. Liverpool always seemed to be like Arsenal. We hadn't beat Arsenal at home in the top flight for years until we did it in lockdown, which obviously we couldn't experience. Bastard COVID, but the Liverpool one was like it was annoying because we'd done them at their place twice, once in the league and once in the cup, but never in the Premier League. So it's another one to tick off now.
Yep, totally. I mean, talking about the game, start with the lineups. What did you think, Stu? When you saw the lineups, how do you feel that we'd set up? Because obviously, we probably expected Daniel Podence to be involved. Surprisingly, Hugo Bueno's dropped out to the bench. So, what was your first thoughts when you saw the lineup?
It's a weird one because I thought at first, it's obviously 4-3-3. I don't think why we'd think any different because that's kind of what he's gone with, and obviously we're thinking with Cunha through the middle and Sarabia and Hwang wide, and then it was kind of not like that. It was really strange. I think looking at it, I felt a bit sorry for Collins because we talked about it before. It was going to be one or the other who dropped to the bench between him and Gilman. You could argue for both. You could probably on the plus side, you can't say hard done by because neither of them have been as quality as we know they can be. And Ait-Nouri was a surprise over Bueno because Bueno's been absolutely solid. But other than that, I thought it's 4-3-3 and nothing else.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, it's nice to have these good players where we can rotate in and have players to play in the same position and come in and do just as well as the person that they're replacing. I think that's huge for us at the moment. I mean, looking at that, Luke, do you think that's our strongest midfield at the moment with Lemina, Neves and Nunes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mentioned it on the preview. That was the midfield three that I would have gone with personally. And I mentioned if we win that midfield battle, we win the game. And that midfield three is our first choice, strongest midfield three without a shadow of a doubt. I feel they work well together within the roles. I feel they really complement each other as well. Allows Neves to get a bit more forward, which obviously proved quite sort of useful. And I mean, looking at that midfield three, me personally, I look at even like Tottenham's central midfield options, and I'll take our three. I agree. You look at the midfield three of Liverpool yesterday. Yeah, Thiago, absolutely fantastic footballer, but again, week in week out, I would take our midfield three over the three they played yesterday in the middle of the park, and we won the battle and ultimately won the game.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. That was the main thing we needed to do yesterday. I think that's the main thing that under Lopetegui that we tried to do is dominate these areas, especially through the midfield. I mean, looking at their team, Pricey, I mean, they say they've got an injury crisis. But really, you look at that team, maybe only Henderson comes in for Bajcetic and Virgil van Dijk. Do you think that they've kind of got a leg to stand on when they're talking about an injury crisis at Liverpool, or is it diversionary tactics from Mr. Klopp again?
I mean, he's a fan, isn't he, Klopp? To be honest, but do you know what? I used to like Klopp when he first come over. I might be like on my own with this one, but I think he was a breath of fresh air when he first come over. But over the last few years, he's like, anytime anything doesn't go his way, he just turns into a bit of a fanny. He's like, he's finding excuses under the sun, isn't he? There's too much of a prevailing wind, so that's why we lost. Or, there's some issue, but injury crisis. I mean, I don't know who's it like up front. I mean, he's probably missing like Diaz, Jota, isn't he? I guess. I mean, probably Firmino. I think. I mean, but look who he's still fielding. He's still fielding Salah, Gakpo, and Nunes. That's
how much did those three cost in transfer fees?
Well, Nunes was what, about 80? Was he?
Well,
Yeah,
Gakpo's
Gakpo's
or I overshot that, but he was a lot. Gakpo was about 30 something. Salah was something similar.
So what? That's 140 mil just on the front three, and the one I'm on about an injury crisis. I'm sorry, but I don't buy that excuse from these big six clubs. The amount of money they receive each year, sort of commercially, sponsorship, everything, they should have enough to be able to acquire 25 players to form a squad to use over a 38-game Premier League season. Now, I understand every team sort of, you do need an element of luck in regards to suspensions and injuries. But when your front three costs 140 million, give or take, don't come crying about an injury crisis. Robertson, Champions League winner. Alexander-Arnold, Champions League winner. Alisson, Brazilian international. Gomez was in and around the England squad before he got his knee injuries. Matip, he's international. Thiago, you know what I mean, from PSG. Keita, Champions League experience. Yes, they've got one young lad in the middle of the park. But it's a piss poor excuse. These big teams, they should have enough about them to be able to get a squad of 25 players to be able to compete and beat every single week clubs like Wolves, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest.
We've got a squad now after our summer winter supermarket sweep. We've got a squad now. When you look at our squad there, we've got options. We've got options now, and Lopetegui likes to use them. Subs are happening now at like 55, 59 minutes, certainly before the hour. And we've got how many options there? We've got 3 options straight away for up front with Jimenez, Podence, and Traore, and then we can change it in midfield as well by bringing Moutinho on, which obviously we did to our benefit yesterday. But I mean, obviously Dawson was always going to come in. That was a given. It was just a case of who was going to drop out, and obviously you can argue the toss either way. You probably argue that Collins, as good as he's been, has probably made more mistakes this season than Kilman. You could break it down and make the case for either. But I'll probably say that was the right decision for keeping Kilman in. And Nori, to be fair to him, whenever he's come on off the bench this season, he's made positive impacts.
Yeah.
Ryan ate Bale sometimes, hasn't he, when he's come on and has been playing well. I mean, and Sarabia, as we said in our chat group, he was quite lively, and he could be a potential snippet, 4.5 mil to come in. So, but yeah, the main thing for me is when you look at that, we've got a squad now. I mean, remember the days of not being able to field a full bench worth of players, or having Wolves children on the bench because we literally have we've got nothing to put on there. But now we've got options all over. We can change it how we want, both through all parts of the pitch, and that's just exactly what Lopetegui would have wanted, and probably one of his key conditions for getting the job. We've had to go out and make our squad much more competitive than what it was previously under the PE teachers and Large.
Weirdly, the 5 subs rule has probably now worked massively in our favour because, like Hungry, like the Wolf said in one of them comments there, Nuri could never last more than an hour under Large, and the fitness levels were atrocious. And obviously, it's going to take time, and you can still see it with some of them. They're still getting up to speed even after the mini winter pre-season and having nearly 2 months with the fitness and conditioning coaches that we've got now in charge. It's going to take a while, but now we've got options on the bench rather than children and 2 keepers. We can play with the big boys, and it's working. And me more than anyone, Shock, was skeptical of these things, and obviously, it's all for the big clubs, and no one else is going to benefit. But actually, when you've got a properly run club who's got a squad rather than 12 players, it's great because it's been a squad game for years, but it's never been able to be fully utilised, and now it can be.
I think it's even more of a squad game now with the 5 subs because you can see from a tactical point of view within the game, there's actually games within the game, and sort of like, let's take the final 30 minutes of a game now. You have to look at that like a different game because you have got the options now to change your shape as well as your personnel, and you can probably make changes to your shape via personnel twice a game now because you can use a double sub, maybe say after 60 minutes, another double sub after 75, and then just bring one on after 93 just to waste a bit of time.
Makes it sound very Americanized, doesn't it?
Yeah,
in the final quarter, when they bring on the defense.
Yeah, but I think that's how you have to look at the game now, and I think a lot of coaches do. They'll break the game down into maybe 3/3 and play it that way.
Well, it was almost like when during the lockdown season when we had the water break halfway through, so we did have 4 quarters, and coaches and managers were doing it, weren't they? They were planning quarters of games and went to press, and like we'll have the first quarter of the first half, and then the first half of the second half we're going to be intense, and they were doing it that way. And now you've got all these options. I've watched more football this season under this whole new magical mystery tour world of 5 subs than I have for years, and it's fascinating because you do get different stories, like you said. You do get the stories, and from a tactical point of view, when you got dross games like you did on Friday night, Chelsea Fulham, you've still got something to think. Oh, okay, what can they do here? They didn't do it, obviously, but you can there's still something there to base your thoughts on. It's been a wondrous invention, maybe through accident or not.
It works both ways for players, doesn't it, as well? Because some of them are coming off earlier than probably normal, but then the guys on the bench are getting much more minutes than you would do normally. So
I think it will allow clubs to bring more young players through as well and give the young players more minutes, because instead of thinking, oh, okay, well, we've got this 18-year-old lad, he hasn't made his debut yet, but we've only got 1 sub left because we can only make 3. Now you can make 2 extra. He's got more chance of getting minutes.
I think you're right. I think it's good. It's good, and we've seen it with Hodge and with Bueno and people. They've had opportunities, and there's one thing that we've had as a football club, in terms of Wolves, is we haven't been able to develop these youngsters. Since the likes of Lescott come through, and we had Keane as well in the late 90s. We haven't really brought players through. We've had players, Mark Davis, probably one of them who should have developed more at the football club, but we've never really had like this sort of belt of players coming through, and hopefully now we can start to develop it as a football club. I mean, talking about the game yesterday, I mean, you alluded to it earlier, Stu, about the formation being a little bit different. Matheus Nunes essentially playing left winger or left midfield, depending on your preference, I suppose. Do you think that was a tactical masterclass? Because he seemed to pin Trent back for the whole game. He just wasn't involved.
Yeah, well, Trent is shit anyway. So I mean, he's a failed winger playing somewhere where he's been masked by his ineptitude by 2 world class, well, before this season, world-class defenders. And we've all said on here about Matheus being not the best when he hasn't played in his actual position. But again, you look at what Lopetegui's done there, and you are right, Javo. He didn't get anywhere, did he? He couldn't get out. And it's not like it wasn't even a case of, oh, take one for the team, sacrifice yourself, just play the man mark him to hell. It wasn't, though. It was very clever. And again, a side of his game I didn't think he had. It was more like putting like a George Savile and kind of squashing his game. But at the same time, look what he did in the cup game against us at Anfield, where he had one touch in a wonderful crossfield ball that Nunes didn't manage to mess up. He's got that quality in him from a delivery point of view. So if you stop the delivery point, they've got hardly anything. Regardless of the money they've spent, he's really odd. But again, fair play. It wasn't a 4-4-2, but it was called like it's more like a 4-4-3-3 shackle in a way, and he just played it perfectly.
Yeah, I think so. And it meant that Hwang probably played in a slightly different place as well. I mean, he picked up on the right hand side. I mean, for the first goal, Luke. I mean, that ball from Sarabia is brilliant. But what did you make of Hwang in that? What do you think of his movement, like, and the way that he was able to force that error?
Yeah, I think it was good to see him playing on the shoulder of the defender. To be fair, I mean, it's good to see anybody in a Wolves shirt playing on the shoulder of a defender, because we haven't seen that for about 2 or 3 seasons now. Good movement, and you know, he wasn't the best strike/cross in the world, but sometimes just get it into the danger zone, and something may happen. Who knows? Maybe it'll hit the defender's leg and go in, which fortunately happened. Do you know what? Even though his afternoon was cut short, I didn't actually think Hwang played too bad yesterday.
No, he was good.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah.
So
Even I'm saying that as well.
His biggest fan.
Not good minutes for him because he's picked up a hamstring injury, which probably going to keep him out for about 6 weeks. But good from, you know, I've been a doubter of Hwang, and, you know, I'm sure Price has as well. But it's good to see that there is a player there, and, you know, it's unfortunate that he's picked up the injury now, but for the how long was he on? 30-35 minutes or something? He had a decent run out.
We saw what he could do at the World Cup. And you look at the performances he put in for career, and you think, well, he never played like that for us. But again, he didn't get the chance to play that for us. He was either completely isolated or being asked to do something he couldn't do. And when you let him run around and play to his strengths and press people and be a pain in the arse, he was great.
Yeah.
And then you could see as soon as he did it, everyone's reaction straight to him. Like it happened last season when he got injured, and then it took him half a year to get back to that same form. Hopefully that's not the same case now, because we've got people in charge of medical who know what they're doing. But I think his work rate, if you take away the Newcastle thing, I don't think people would have been on his case as much. I think that was a thing of shared frustration, and he was the bulk of it because it was his fuck up that lost us the points. Yeah. Because up until then, I thought he was kind of getting there. He was proving people wrong. He was at least he never shirks, does he? He never backs out of anything. He's always putting himself in harm's way to his detriment. And yesterday, he's unfortunately just done it by running down the wing.
We had a couple of. I know it was a home debut for Sarabia, but a full debut for Craig Dawson, and he marked it brilliantly in the only way that Craig Dawson can. That man Sarabia was involved again. It was nice to see somebody actually take a proper corner for once. But yeah, talk us through the goal, Pricey. How did you see it, and what did you think about Dawson's finish?
Well, I mean, strikers would love to finish like that. To be honest, that was a striker of a finish. I mean, that's literally like a proper English centre half. Just put your foot through it and like, give it some fucking welly and get it in the net. You know. I mean, to be honest, I mean, the goal was great, well worked. I think Cunha put the cross in. I think Kilman had a headed effort, come back to Dawson, and then wallop. And he's just what we've been needing. We've got two good young centre halves in Kilman and Collins. Obviously, what we lose then is a cool head, and Dawson is that cool, experienced head. You could just see it straight from the off. He just. I mean, it wasn't like a Cody style leadership where he's like shouting constantly, but you could tell like he was making sure that Kilman was kept in line, the whole defence was in line. He's just talking the defence through the game. I mean, he's what else? Dawson, is he 32?
33.
Is he 33? So he's someone who's right for the here and now, someone to like guide our younger players through, and that just shone through. To be honest, you could just see Ballon Dawson. I love that name. I saw that online yesterday. I love Ballon Dawson. But yeah, he's just what we've just like Lemina is just what we've needed in midfield. Dawson is just what we've needed in defence. Someone who is a leader, but also a good defender. He had a great game. He had one pass, which I think he just gives straight to Gakpo, which puts Salah in, which thankfully come to nothing. But other than that, he's great home debut. So yeah, brilliant debut for him, and hopefully we see more of that as the season goes on.
I just wish he would have kissed the badge.
Imagine.
But also, I want to give him credit for the yellow card that he got yesterday as well. Because that was a beautiful tactical foul. Beautiful.
There was another one later on where he went to, I can't remember who was running through, but he went to grab him, and my lot just flashed before my eyes. I was like, no. But then he knew straight away. He just took his hands off the play straight away. And I can't remember who it was now, but yeah, I mean, that was the tactical yellow was like chef's kiss. But
yeah,
I thought I just saw it happening again at that moment. I think it was in the second half, wasn't it? But obviously, he needed to back out.
I mean, the man we haven't talked about yet, and it's rather surprising me because he was fantastic yesterday, is everyone's favourite Nintendo lover, Super Mario. He was imperious. He was incredible. How the hell did we buy this guy for so little money?
This ain't the same guy from Southampton, is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem it, does it? Honestly, like this guy, he covered so much yesterday. He was incredible.
It's like he's been possessed. Because even when you go back to the Southampton days, that it was always one of them where you watched him and he was so erratic that he had something about him, but you could see why he was at Southampton and then Fulham. And I remember on one of the pods during the window when he came in, and it was like, well, if he's grown up a bit, he's going to be some player. And he always had the technical ability, didn't he? He was always there. But he's lost his head too much, and he faded in games. And yeah, we haven't had a massive sample size yet, but so far, he ain't for a foot wrong. And he looks like we could have easily spent 50 million on him. I mean, how much did United pay for Casemiro?
7.
And you look at.
Well, Casemiro is the best midfielder the world's ever seen. If you listen to frigging Sky Sports and all the red tops and that.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not comparing him to ability wise, but the impact that he's had, and like they had that thing with Casemiro. I said, "Oh yeah, I saw the Brentford game, and he told his agent, I'll go and sort it out." I think, well, yeah, okay, fair enough. And then you go and sort someone out around the neck yesterday. Well done. But the impact Lemina's had already, it's like like I said a few weeks ago, everyone's game has been raised. Everyone is putting their foot in. Like when we come on to when Martinho came on, he was getting stuck in. And again, that's obviously a thing of the 5 subs, and he doesn't have to conserve energy for his middle-aged body anymore. But Lemina is something else. And what, for 9-10 million quid?
Yeah.
Well, my mate said to me today that we bought him. He's 28, I think, and late 20s. So we bought him for the here and there. We bought him for like his peak of his powers. We haven't bought someone who's like 22, 23, who's still on the upward trajectory. We're going to get the best, 2 or 3 years of Lemina's career out of him now, potentially. And that's what's that's great for us. That we haven't done that normally in the last few years. Wolves, we've gone for the younger player for the resale value. Well, we've booked that trend with Lemina. We've got someone who's obviously got quality, and we bought him now to get us up the table straight away. Not an investment. He's just come in to just help the first team, and boy has he. Yes, he was just everywhere. I did see a comment earlier, like I think I saw someone put it on the group in Twitter, like I've come downstairs this morning and went to kick a ball, and Lemina was there and tackled me because he was everywhere.
I feel like Lemina's going to be this era's Romain Saiss, where when he's come in, no one's sort of singing from the rooftops, "Oh look, we've signed Mario Lemina," but he's got to turn out to be a real great addition to the squad. I think he'll become a fan's favourite. He's not going to turn out braces every week or 55-yard raking balls, but he's got to put his body on the line. He'll fight for the shirt. He'll give you 100% every week. Blocks, challenges, tackles. Like, say, it's against Middlesbrough away when we went down to 9 men. I can picture a similar image from Lemina, and that's, so he's not a great fancy signing, but I think when we look back in 4 or 5 years' time, we'll be like, what a player Lemina was for the Wolves.
Yeah. And then you look at his, you look at his interview with Gemma, and he said that it nearly happened 4 or 5 years ago, and that would have been to replace Alfred and Dye, which was a controversial take apparently amongst some people. Gully. Do you think we haven't had someone like this for so long? And yet, obviously, Alfred and I was a championship player. We were in the championship. That's the point. We didn't have the Premier League equivalent of that player until now. And now we have. But you can see the difference that it makes having someone. And he's not, the fact that he's not just a snotter. He's not just a Lee Catamole. He's not like that. He's got quality as well.
Yeah, he's tidy on the ball, man.
He must be surely the first Gabonese player that Wolves have ever had.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I'm not missing anyone from like the bygone years, am I?
No, I wouldn't.
But
so.
No, he's a star. But I mean, like Stu said, it's early days yet. But judging off that performance yesterday, that's as we said earlier, that's a midfield 3 now set up. I mean, we've obviously bought quite a few midfielders recently in the last 6 months, and I think that's probably with one eye to the future, because there is a scenario at the end of this season where we lose all 3 of Moutinho, Neves, and Matheus. But like I said, our midfield set now for the rest of the season. That Neves, Matheus, and Lemina, and I think, as Luke said earlier, that'll compete with the best of them. So happy days.
Yeah, bringing it back around to Matheus, he's probably the part of the last major talking point in that first half. So raking ball coming over the top, Matheus runs at Matip, rips the ball off him. How the hell does he not score? This isn't the first time either.
Nah,
this is
away
the
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
away. I mean, I suppose if he's going to add goals to his game, then he would have been worth 90 million and not what we paid for him. Obviously, yeah, you would like to see him chipping with some goals, but as frustrating as it was, I think we'll let him off for that one-on-one yesterday, because the rest of his game was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And he's like you said, we've said over the last couple of month or so, Matheus Nunes now is becoming the Wolves player that we wanted him to become. And he's been utilised, and we can see his qualities a lot more. There's less pressure on him to do what Dendoncker was doing in the last year or so of his time at Wolves, and have all this running and try and cover ground. We don't need to do it. We don't need to chase games. We need to be effective in the way we play football. I mean, in general, talking about the game, Stu, do you feel like now how the players are, they feel depressed because of what we bought in? We've obviously got Joe Gomez, who wasn't involved in the squad yesterday. But you've got the likes of Joe Hodge as well, Moutinho. Do you feel like there's a pressure now for him to perform as a bunch of players?
Well, we've had 3 midfielders for 4 years, so and again, like Liverpool, you just going back to that lineup. You look at that lineup. Apart from the guy who I'm not even going to try and pronounce, a lot of that team have been together for 4 or 5 years, and it just looks stale. You can see it on the pitch; it looks stale. And what had happened to us? The whole midfield had gone stale, and now you look at it. We bought, well, obviously Matheus has been here all season, but played properly and given an actual role and with a footballing god who is J-Lop. That we've got competition and we've got good competition. And no disrespect to Hodge and Conor Ronan and whatever, they're not in the same league yet, and in Conor Ronan's case, never will be.
No,
But you always need competition. We've said this for years that it was all right with the fluke of having 14 players under Nuno and them never getting injured for 2 years. That was ridiculous. It doesn't happen, does it? We've needed this for so long, and now look what's happened in the space of the Man City game where we didn't turn up at all. To fast forward 2 weeks later, we've now got midfield reinforcements and future planning in João Gomez. And did they get that? Did they get that guy to do that, or did someone impersonate him?
You've got to have.
Because it was too close. It was too close to be to be a fake. But the fact that we've got, like we said before, about copying the Brighton model, or just being a sensible football club, having forward planning in João Gomez, and having even and Boubacar, we haven't even talked about today. Then both of them being there next season in mind, and Hodge being there for next season in mind as well. It all makes sense. We've got competition in midfield. We've got competition in defence. Potentially at keeper as well, which I thought Jose saw was superb yesterday. No fuck-ups at all, which is all we want. At fullback as well. And you look at the difference when Dexter came in for one game at right back, Semedo has been superb ever since. And it's no surprise, is it? If you ain't got to perform and you know you're still going to get picked, you're not going to perform. Yeah. It's Taylor's old as time. And it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean, moving on to sort of the second half of the game, Liverpool came back into it. I mean, it was expected. Klopp must have gone in and had the sort of conversation at half time saying, okay, he wanted more and wanted more. Under Lopetegui, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit more resilience and a bit more about us as a defensive unit. Were you quite impressed with how we set ourselves up and how we dealt with that sort of pressure?
Majorly. I felt like if this game was sort of 9 months ago, we would have crumbled. Do you know what, right? When you watch Wolves now, if you watch yesterday's game, we look like a team that are coached, that have structure, that have a playing style, that have a fucking clue. Whereas under Bruno, that no way would we have kept Liverpool out. And I honestly believe, because fair play to Liverpool, they came out the second half and they put us under the cosh for a good 20 minutes. But looking at the defence, the shape was good. It was solid. People's putting bodies on the line, blocks, last-ditch tackles. I thought it was kind of a game of two halves. I think the first half we really showed what we've got going forward. But the second half allowed us to show what we're about defensively as well. And if you want to come and score goals against this team now, you're going to have to either be really, really technically brilliant, or tactically, you're going to have to cut us open, and that's not going to be easy to do, he says.
No, I think you're right, because I think it's more a case of we had the first half of the first half and they had the first half of the second half. As in the second half of the second quarter of both halves, if you want to go that way again, kind of delved into much of a muchness, especially in the first half. But I think it was definitely a point to come at the blocks like we did, like we said earlier with the atmosphere thing as well. And then for that to be reversed and Liverpool to come out, and it was like, oh no, we've seen this before. Mm-hmm. And it was I think that was more to do with the atmosphere dropping a little bit than anything else. That we've been so awful for nearly a year in this kind of situation where we know what's coming. Let's not sing and dance. Yeah, we might be 2-0 up or whatever, but it's Liverpool. They can still come back at us and we can still throw it away. And we needed something like this to prove that we're not shit anymore. And now we've got something to build on, and I think you can see, especially that we'll come on to the last 5 minutes of the game, that wouldn't have happened at all under any performance under Bruno. Whether it was taking the piss and wherever, because people have belief again, and I think that's what it means. And then you come on to jumping ahead, you come on to the third goal and delirium. I think is probably the best way to call it.
Doesn't count now, does it?
Yeah.
No.
That's what I was going to say. Is it talking about the goal that probably didn't count? We alluded to it earlier. Mr. Huang got injured in the first half. On comes Adama Traore. I think we were all a little bit surprised that maybe it wasn't Daniel Podence, but Pricey. What's he done to Adama Traore? Because that was not the same guy we've seen for the past couple of seasons.
I'm surprised.
Wax lyrical about him. Just give us all the superlatives in the world. Go on.
Yeah, I was surprised it wasn't Daniel Rapinoe either as well coming on. But well, I mean, this is the Traore that everyone wants to see. This is where like all the jigsaw pieces fit like a glove together. He just had everything, didn't he? He had the close control, the skill, the pace, the heading ability, and then most importantly, the end product. At the end, this is what makes him fearful for opponents. This is what, if he played yesterday, how he plays. If he was to play that all the time, then that's when he wouldn't be at us. He would have his wish, and he wants to play for a bigger team. But at the minute, there probably isn't a team that he wants to play for that wants him, because obviously what you often get with him is what we see all the time. But I always thought when Lopetegui come in that we would see more of Adama than what we have, to be honest, because we all probably saw the videos when he first come in. Lopetegui had his arms around Traore, giving him a lot of love, because Traore probably wanted out again. But I've been a bit surprised. I thought Lopetegui would always be starting him, and he hasn't, has he? He's kept him on the bench. He's kept him as the impact sub, mainly by and large. And yesterday was like a reminder from Adama to everyone to say, I should be considered worthy of a start in this team. And he was great. That for the third goal, he did have a very important role to play, but arguably the even more important role was played by Moutinho in that third goal. Because when he come on, that was another great tactical sub by Lopetegui, sending Moutinho on, just against someone else at that point in the game to help control it. And he was terrier-like, getting that ball back and setting Adama through. And then, I mean, you've got to give Neves credit. Neves is probably one of the slowest players on the pitch, and he's just steaming through the middle. And I think it's Thiago, and I know he's not the paciest player in the world either. He's just as slow, but he's just watched Neves just pass him by like a Ferrari passing a Skoda or something in the middle of the pitch. And one, great pass from Adama. And two, great first touch from Neves. I think his first. I know the finish was on his left foot. I think his first touch was on his left foot as well. I think so. Fair fucks to everyone all around on that one.
Yeah, I think with Thiago, I think it was more the case of it's Traore. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's going to end up in row ZZ. But it reminds me there was when we signed him, there was a quote from Tony Pulis, and he was saying, "Yeah, we had to tell him to slow down when he went to a conditioning coach or something, and because he was too fast for everyone else, and he had to slow down and think." He did that yesterday. And it's very fleeting, and that's why he's so fucking annoying, because we know he can do this. But it's almost like he needs to be told over and over again. And if this is what it takes, then great. Bring it. This is what he was like with Raul in their purple period of 6 months, when he made the correct choice and didn't fuck it up. And yesterday, over and over again, Even jumping for headers, he jumped for the right ones. Like there was somewhere he was deliberately playing into the thing of being shoved in the back, which he wasn't, but he was playing into it. And obviously, we're not going to get anything against them lot. But he was doing it rather than just doing it and falling on the floor. He was doing things properly, like he'd been told a game plan, and he was executing it perfectly. And obviously, I didn't get excited when he got the ball. So I've said this before. It was even more. It was even more of a shock that when he did it. I thought, oh, absolutely fair play to you. And he was. If you take away Dawson and Lemina, he was one of the best players on the pitch when he came on.
Yeah,
because he did what we know he can do, and he was superb.
I hated that, by the way. That rat-faced Iron Brewer Robertson.
Yeah,
because I can't stand Robertson, and he was doing that, pushing the back with Adama all game long when Adama was on, and you could tell Adama was kind of playing for it. There is no way that Andy Robertson is pushing Adama Traore anywhere, right? So yeah, I was delighted at the end.
But Neves obviously put the ball in the back of the net and did his trademark celebration. Marcus Rashford, get in the bin. What did you guys think about that? Because obviously, you know, we all know it's his celebration, but the point to the chest to say this is mine, that kind of surprised me because I didn't expect it. But what were we thinking about that?
It must be frustrating because as frustrated as we get with the big six getting all the column inches and all the airtime on BT, Sky Sports News, whatever. As a footballer, it must be frustrating because if it was me, I'd be sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, you cheeky pricks. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. This dickhead does it once and you start giving him the Rashford celebration. No. So it must be frustrating. So I bet he was buzzing and he sent the message, it's fucking mine. So make sure in your next article you get it right, you daft prick.
I was frustrated for him, you know, when The Athletic dedicated the whole article on saying like what this Marcus Rashford celebration and what it means. I was like, hold fucking phone for a minute, right?
Probably written by Tim Spears as well, Rory.
No, it was
it was some randomer, some probably United lover. I was like, hold the phone a minute, you know, paid article on The Athletic, and you don't even know some other guy, high profile players who do it for the last 5 fucking years.
Idiots, man.
The best thing about all that was the fact that there was United fans. As soon as all this started, there was United fans saying that's not Rashford's. Like it's not like Neves. He's like a secret. So, like, he's been. Like,
didn't you do it when he scored against Everton on his Premier League debut?
Yeah.
Well,
and he was doing it in the Championship when we were the best team that's ever played in that league, and he was one of the stars of the season. Even though Ryan Sessegnon was better, obviously. But everyone knows the story about that it's a PLO tribute. He said it over and over again, so it's not even his anyway. But in this era, it is, and the whole thing was just a joke. And did rightly so.
Did Perlow do the celebration, or did Perlow just say the quote?
He did it a few times towards the end of his career. Like you look at Pirlo points, and like the first thing that comes up is like 2015, some Italian Cup in 2015. Looking at the badge on the sleeve, it actually does say 2015. That's not me being kit noncy again. But it's clearly an inspiration from that. But everyone knows that it's his. He's been doing it for 5-6 years here in this country, and for them not to wank off Rashford over it because he went through some trouble. No, it might mean something different, but the act of pointing to your head with a finger is what Neves brought to this country. No one else.
No, bang on. Couldn't put it better, Stu. I mean, there's one negative point, and I hate to focus on negatives after such a brilliant performance, but the one negative is Raul Jimenez doesn't put that chance away to make it 4-0. How the hell can he get that so wrong? Once again, Adama Traore, we've waxed lyrical about him. He plays really well in this game, and you know, it's a fantastic ball to Raul, but how does he mess this chance up so badly?
I don't even want to talk about it, to be fair, because I'm fed up of speaking about Raul. People will start to think it's an agenda I've got against him. But
Hey, Luke,
Pricey,
Luke,
you
if you
got
keep
this
it,
one.
Luke, if you keep it up with criticism, you won't get your hair cut at you know whose place.
Fuck you anyway. You're the pop star.
He's
But yeah, like I remember, like there was an effort he had before that. He literally, you know, I know what he was trying to do. He was trying like an outside of the right foot spectacular from about 20-ish yards, and he just banjoed it. Like he didn't. There was no bend on it at all. He hit it in a straight line. It just went flying off into like S2 or SL2 in the South Bank. But yeah, I mean, I know Matheus was calling for the ball when Adam was running clean through. Matheus wanted it, and he didn't. He slotted in Jimenez, and you're thinking, here we go, just a good finish here. That's all we want. Like, I don't know, slide under the keeper, bait, whatever. In the end, as he tried, as the ball's coming to him from the right, as he tried to chip it over the keeper, or you know, like because I watched it back, and I'm like, you've ended up just doing nothing at all here. You've literally just done nothing. There was not even like his boot didn't even look like he was trying to chip it. His boot just there, just touched the ball, and like a tiny little sandwich wedge chip. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I don't even know what that was. I could have done that, what he just did. And I'm shit at football. I'm like, so I was just confused. I just didn't even know what he was trying to attempt to do. But you know, add it to the list of things.
100%.
I'm just baffled by him at the minute.
You want one thing or another when you look at a couple of the save that Salah made in the first half that they didn't even mention. There was or the start of the second half. We didn't even mention that was he put his body in the way. It was a great save.
Big save. That was probably a game-winning save. That was, because if they would have scored from that, it would have been a completely different game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing where just give the keeper something to do. Even if he just blasted it at him, which is more than likely what would have happened, then fine, because it's going to come out and you got a chance off the rebound. But trying to do something so ridiculous like that when you're so out of form and you're clearly not all there anymore, it's just unacceptable. I don't know why he still gets a chance. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you've got our party cheerleader over there, Mr. Costa, who's, you look at the training videos and he looks as fit as anyone else. Obviously, he can't be trusted in big games like that because he gets sent off. But the point is, it's like anyone would have done it better than him. And like Luke said about when he was slagging off John Hartson on Soccer AM the other week. But John Hartson had brain injuries, same as Raul. And I've said it before, it's not his fault. But he's not the same person. He's not the same player. So we can't expect him to do it. So I don't see why he's keep getting these chances when over and over again he's letting us down. Because if that had been 2-1 or 2-2, and we'd end up losing the game because of him fucking about again.
Exactly. He can't be trusted with the minutes. I'm sorry, but he cannot be trusted with the minutes. It's as simple as that now. I'm not even going to say he played bad yesterday, because when he came on, I thought, come on then, Raul, do something. Like, this is your opportunity to try and just hold the ball up, maybe win a couple of fouls on the halfway line, relieve some pressure. But when you're coming on and you're doing finishes like that, you can't be trusted with the minutes. It's not like he's on the back of 8 or 9 goals this season to be trying finishes like that. Like,
and
I'm done with him.
It's not even things like this as well, which are annoying. He almost died for us. No, he didn't die for us. He got hit in the head by David Luiz. He's not throwing himself into front of gunfire, is he?
So shall we still give him 90 minutes every week just because of it's an horrific injury, and we wouldn't wish it on anybody. So I don't understand the point of that comment. It's not like we're wishing, oh yes, we're glad he got the injury. Makes no sense. We wouldn't wish that on anybody. But just because he got the injury doesn't mean that he's still deserving of the minutes when he's not performing.
Yeah, and it's not a lack of everyone respects what he did here,
of course.
But it's almost like saying, oh well, yeah, Mike Stell got his jaw broken by Eric Young in 1996. We should be playing him in goal now. Exactly. It's stupid.
We play Stell with a broken wrist.
Well, exactly. He should. It's no logic to the argument. He's not He's a professional footballer. It's not Make-A-Wish Foundation, like I've said before.
I think
Let him go to America. Let him do whatever he wants. But he
football,
can't
right,
be. He can't be relied upon to score goals, which he's always paid for, and he can't be relied upon to do anything else because he's not the same player that he was. It's no fault of his. It's no fault of ours. It's just the way it is.
If any of us was nearly died for our employer, and our performances at work were slipping, sort of 18 months, 2 years on, you're not going to get the sympathy. They're going to dismiss you.
Yeah.
The thing is, like football, it's a brutal industry, right? So we all know what happened. We all know what's happened to him previously. But can you imagine what criticism the club would get if you persevere? If you play well 90 minutes every week and he's missing chance after chance or just not putting in the effort, right? Then what happens? What happens if you get relegated? And like,
see you later, pal.
yeah, Ian, off you go, mate. Like we'd have the football management side of the club would have like hell to pay for and loads of questions if you persevere with playing like a non-scoring striker up front on the back of what's happened previously. Football's a brutal industry. Players ditch clubs at a minute's notice. Clubs get rid of players at a minute's notice. Blah blah blah. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. And we'll. I'm sure that in the summer, right? I think he'll probably leave. To be honest, I think he'll probably move on. Whether that's his decision, club decision, whether.
Yeah, a win-win for everybody. He can go to the MLS or back to Mexico or wherever he wishes to go. He can retire in a certainly nicer climate than Wolverhampton. He can spend more time with his young family, which, as a man of his age in his early 30s with such a young family, that's an absolutely fantastic thing to do. Fantastic opportunity. He'll get more minutes of football at a club at a lower level of league. He'll hopefully start scoring goals again. So everybody wins. But I think, me personally, and I'm sorry if this offends Ian if he's still listening, but
probably not.
Just because he got injured, yes, it was horrific. Everybody understands that. But it doesn't mean that if he's not performing, he shouldn't be given the minutes because his performances are not justifying the minutes that he's getting at the moment. And as far as I'm concerned, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, Wolves have supported him. Now, I must make that point. Just, I know we've laughed about what people are saying in the comments, but Wolves have supported him. They put him through the surgery. They made sure that he had the support. Danielle had the support as well, his wife and his family, and they've helped him through. And there's a lot more that's gone on behind the scenes, especially to help him through with his mental health as well, and the things that have changed for him. So we make no light joke about that. And I get upset when I read things like that from Ian to say that we're joking about it. We're not. We want the best for Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. And we may be just a bunch of fans, but he's had the support and he will continue to have the support. And it comes down, and our side of it is the game and what he's put on the pitch.
The support for him when he came on was absolutely fantastic as well from the fans. I will say that. It was absolutely fantastic when he came on and started chanting his name.
Yeah, and no one will ever attack him when he's on the pitch, and rightly so. But let's not beat around the bush here. This happened a long time ago now. He had all of last season as well when he didn't come back to what he used to be. It's not like this happened last October. It's you know what I mean. It's a long time ago now. It happened to him. He's had enough. He's had a whole season and a bit now under 3 managers. Effectively, yeah, he didn't play under Nuno, but whatever. But he was still there. But he still had the time to get back to what he was, and it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Yeah. It's sad, but it's true. And you look at it, and he almost now needs. I can't wait for now the summer to come where everyone just needs it to end because it's dragging it on and on and on. And you look at Nuno won a cup last week or the week before. The amount of stick I gave that bloke, and I suppose he's going to come back and we should never criticise Nuno or what he did for us. Yeah. Look where we were. But that had to end. It had to end when it did, and it was probably a year too late when it did happen.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for the guy. He had a bad time at Spurs. It didn't work for him there. He went away. He's gone to the Middle East, whatever. Everyone kind of smirk and laugh, but he's won a trophy. And he looks happy and he looks healthy again. And good for him. I've got my Nuno Christmas card from a couple of years ago. I'm never chucking it out. Time's a hero in these kind of things. For what he did for us, I love him. I love him forever. And if he ever comes back to Molineux, he's going to get heroes welcome, and rightly so. Same as Mick McCarthy does every time he comes back. Raul Jimenez needs to go away at the end of this season, sever ties, and come back in a few years with a proper heroes welcome, and he'll deserve it.
Yeah, well said. Well, perfectly said, Stu. I think it's best we move swiftly on from this subject because I think we'll get stuck into it a little bit more. There's one major talking point that we want to talk about from the game yesterday, and that is the last 5 minutes. When was the last time that we heard Oles down at Molineux? I mean, I want to hear from all of you on this one, to be honest, because it was a great feeling to actually hear that and hear the fans enjoying the performance as much as they did.
It was, when I was just saying about the Nuno days, it was like that the Man United Cup game where I actually welled up with emotion that it was almost too much. Like when in the last 5 minutes of that, where we were so dominant, we were clear we were going to Wembley in the semis, regardless of what happened, we didn't know at the time. It was one of them moments where it was so much, and it wasn't so much the Oles, it was the impromptu stand innovation from all 4.5 stands out of nowhere. I've never seen that ever before for something like that, where other than someone being substituted and who deserves a standing ovation, for the whole stadium to get on their feet and applaud a period of play like that. And I think it was obviously the whole game altogether as well. It was magical. And I hope that, I presume they will do, that Wolves will put the video out properly with proper sound, because there's a few fan ones going around and it doesn't show how loud it was and the impact that it had. And to them be full-time bought on that as well, it was an incredible moment, and we haven't had that for years.
I felt it was a perfect way to end the game. I thought it was a really fitting way to end the game, and after putting in a performance such as that, I feel like the players deserved to end the game that way. And I mean, you all know how I feel about the Big Six. To see them have the piss taken out of them is absolutely fantastic by little old Wolves. You know what I mean? You just can't beat it, can you? Little old Wolves, 3:00 on a Saturday. The big boys are in town, and we are laying you back on the M6 up north.
Do you know what? It was great because that Liverpool just looked broken. Just like what they've done to the seats in the South Bank, the steep ball, broken. They just looked shattered, like the spine was broken in Liverpool, and they couldn't even be asked to even do a token jog of a close down. We just Kilman and Dawson were just had about 6 passes between themselves, backwards and forwards. Brilliant, and the main thing about that ovation was the spontaneity of it. It was just what a result! First time in 40 years of beating them at home in the league or whatever. The manner in which we beat them, just everything, just like a culmination of just a great 90 minutes and an appreciation as well. I think for what Lopetegui's done with the team in his short time with us. It was just like a culmination of all those things together. Great moment. Put it on the end of the season DVD.
Well, I think, like you said, a culmination just to sort of emphasise we're fucking back. The Wolves are back. It feels like we're back as well. It feels like early Nuno days, but with a bit of added extra spice and season because we've got better players now. And with respect to Nuno, if I'm allowed to say this without being slated in the comments, I feel like Lopetegui's a better manager as well.
He's the best manager we've ever had in our entire history. We said this when he was appointed.
Are you allowed to say anything because that's negative to Nuno, Stu?
Oh, fucking man. Just say what we want, boy. But it's one of the best things I saw afterwards was a clip from Soccer Saturday the Merson watching the game, and he was getting irate that how Liverpool weren't trying and how they were being humiliated. And obviously, this is Merson who doesn't care about Liverpool at all, and it was pissing him off how much they were being destroyed by us. And I'm sure the clip's still on Twitter unless they took it down, but it was just glorious to see. Yeah. And the fact that if any club deserves to be taunted about victims, which is nothing to do with Hillsborough before they even start. I mean, that was a disgrace. The fact that came from a BBC journalist today saying that Wolves were singing about Hillsborough. I hope the cunt gets struck off, seriously, because it's absolutely abhorrent. It's nothing to do with that. It's about all the other bollocks that goes with Liverpool Football Club. All the stuff about nothing else to be said in the media about them smashing the seats up, which their club will have to pay for, you stupid dickheads. Nothing will not be reported. And there was Chelsea fans saying, jokingly saying, Chelsea were at Molineux undercover, smashing it up for Liverpool. It's all the stuff that goes around that place. It's nothing to do with Hillsborough. Everyone hates you because you're Bellends. Yeah. Nothing else.
I think the South Bank even gave Liverpool fans a rousing rendition of the national anthem as well, partway through the game.
To wrap the game up, let's go around. Okay, Stu, man of the match.
Mario Lemina, easy.
Luke,
Super Mario for me.
You want to make it a full house, Pricey?
Yeah, full house. Dawson close behind, but close, but not second place. But yeah, Lemina, ran the show.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I mean, Craig Dawson close second. I think we've got some Twitter corner questions. We knocking around.
Yeah, shall we just? I forgot we haven't even done it. We'll just have a little quick ad break before we get told off.
Yeah, let's get that in.
We'll be back in literally 7 seconds for live people. Don't worry.
Perfect. Welcome back. I mean, we've done that a little bit late in the show, but we'll get round to it. So, Twitter corner. We love questions from all of our fans and all of the Wolves fans around the world. If you do want to interact in the future, follow us on Twitter at Wolves Fancast. So, first question that I want to get in there, Stu. What happened to embarrass yourself by trying to kick a football through a hole in front of 30,000 people? Where did the game go? Where? Because I know they've been trying to do it, and no one's won it yet. Is it because the prize money's getting too high, or?
It needs to be in the middle of the pitch as well. It can't be at the side. You need full embarrassment factor. You need someone falling over, because that's part of the funny that you always going to get people who sit near the front just because of the logistics of it all, and none of them are going to be athletic, are they? But it's not made enough of, is it? Because it's just part of the thing. Rather than a bit of build up to it, make them a bit tense. Put a bit of pressure on them, then do it just before the teams come back out. That'll be better, because everyone's either gone for a lubrication break or to empty the tank after before kickoff. By the time you get back in your seat, you miss it all anyway. So if you did it like 2 or 3 minutes, tell them price just before the teams come back out, do it then. It can't be that hard to take a bit of a post into the corner where they live. Really, can it? I mean, that'd be my idea. And you got more people, more eyes on it, more pressure, more chance of humiliation.
Yeah, it's been a good laugh. I mean, we've got in one from the ever so lovely and always level-minded and level-headed little Dan on Twitter as well. João Moutinho, that was his, and he kind of went under the radar a little bit. It was his 200th appearance for Wolves yesterday. So we'll go around. All here. What's your favourite Moutinho moment, or Moo moment, as Dan so lovingly put? We're going to Luke first, or Pricey first. Then go on, Price.
It's only because it's popped into my head.
Yeah.
Just in their first season back, that his goal at Old Trafford, his thriker with his left foot. I know he has scored another one at Old Trafford since, that meant we got more points that time round. But that one, I think where we drew 1-1 and he smacked it with left foot, top corner. delightful.
How about you, Luke? What's your favourite Joao moment?
My favourite Moo moment is his winner at Old Trafford. It was just a fantastic day for me, and to top it off with a win at Old Trafford, great goal as well. So that's my favourite one. And
you, Stu, what's your favourite one?
Seen him sign these contracts more than anything else. On the wall of legends, there behind me. He's the fact that he turned up and for so little money, and has played for us more than any other club in his life. Like Paul Ince did in the end of his career as well, where you look at the clubs he played for, and then he rocks up here, and you think, oh, he'll be all right for a year or so. But he's put his heart and soul into the place, and we were even talking about it earlier, using him properly as he should have been used for the last 18 months, coming off the bench or playing for half an hour, 60 minutes, and not thrashing him to pieces, his little old legs to suffer with. That's ideal. That's what we should have been doing for a while. And you look at him, he ain't going to conserve energy. He can run around like a little terrier. Yeah. And look how great he was. Like we've already mentioned it. He was superb in his little cameo yesterday. And there was that. And when obviously goal-wise, it was Bournemouth for me, because obviously we had dislike for Bournemouth. He's well known. But that free kick, Bournemouth away, is just magnifique.
Perfect.
What about you, Jafo?
Me, probably the Brentford game, the goal against Brentford.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's like I say, and I think you guys have said as well in the past. He's probably one of the greatest players to ever wear a Wolves shirt. So if he might have come here in the twilight of his career, but he'll still go down as probably one of the top 5 Wolves players of all time.
Easily,
yeah, easy. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, I mean, we touched on it earlier, talking about music. Okay, it was a big grime all season at the start of the game. We swapped to Led Zeppelin, a little bit of the Smiths. We've got a question here. Does that come from Lopetegui to bring that in? I know it's his music taste, but is that something that was the key to victory, and does that come from the big man himself?
Oh, that's a good point. That is. I mean, would a manager have that power? But of course they would. If they want something, then why not? But again, he's talked about the crowd, and his post-match interview where he was talking about we need that in the bad times as well. I think obviously alluding to the start of the second half, where it was, like Luke said, it was dead, and maybe for reasons, but it could have been. I don't know, see the manager in one of his early videos be so like starstruck as he was when he was meeting Robert Plant in the Hayward suite. So it's got every chance of it. His fingerprints all over it, and everything he touches turns to gold at the minute. So bring it on, more input.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a weird question, but as a bit of a tangent for a second, if we could have one song, go around the room again. So one song you add to that playlist to really pump up the crowd, not the Liquidator, because I'm not going over that for the 1,000th time. But what would you pick, Pricey? What song are you going to get there to get the crowd going?
I'm just trying to think of songs with Wolf in the title, and my initial thought was
Duran Duran.
Not Duran Duran was the second one I thought of. I did think there was a Metallica song called A Wolf and Man. You could have that one.
Yeah.
That's a bit of that'll rouse a few people. That'll stir the old uns from the seats. That will, and then when they've been a bit confused by that, then put Duran Duran on.
We used to play Duran Duran years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the mid-90s gold standard was Tina Turner, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we talked about this on the.
What I miss, like the bugle or that when we used to come out, was it the bugle or something in the 90s? And we used to come out and it used to go doo doo doo.
Fanfare for the Common Man, that's called.
Yes.
It is,
I knew you'd know. You knew ages ago. You just wanted to see
Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
I like it when we come out to that, I do. But maybe that's just my age.
No, and it's that was the thing. You know, we mentioned this on a certain other podcast that we feature on in the morning. If you want to listen to that, Cage Fighting.
No,
There's no your information tomorrow is a music special, so you can listen to it.
Oh, I can listen to it about films. Stu, I just don't want it.
But yeah, anyway, we were talking about that on the fact that a lot of it comes from you got to look at the audience that you're playing to, and all the grime stuff doesn't work because we're not under 14. So the vast majority of people at Molineux, I think the average age is about 40. So all the stuff that we grew up with, like Tina Turner being played at Molineux, it's going to resonate with us more than anyone else.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned on Twitter about the instrumental version of Mein Heart Brent, which would be a turning point, playing a bit of Rammstein, or Rammstein, if you want to say it properly. But the instrumental version of that, it's only a bit like the is it the Dancing of the Night that Sunderland play? It's only a similar kind of thing to that. So it's all a bit just adapt and know your audience, really, ain't more than anything else.
What about Delilah?
Yeah, nothing wrong with Delilah.
Oh, are you sure about that, Stu?
Absolutely. It's a song. Has Tom Jones ever beaten anyone up? Has Tom Jones ever beaten his wife to a pulp? No, he hasn't. Grow up. Silly Welsh lad.
Okay, we'll do one more from Twitter Core next. We're running on a little bit more, a little bit later than we expected. Atletico Madrid rumored to be interested. I don't know how much legs are in this one, but interested in Hugo Bueno in the summer. I know he didn't feature yesterday, but he's been brilliant. How much would Wolves need to take for him to move on, do you reckon? What sort of transfer fee are we looking at?
I think 30, what Amar says there, 30, 40 million. For someone so inexperienced in a normal world, you'd think that's madness. But if you got players like Caicedo who were being touted at 90 million after playing like 18 games or whatever, the world's gone crazy. And if Chelsea are involved, then put another 20 million on top of that. I don't think the way he's played, 30 million, considering his age, the fact that he's potentially homegrown, maybe. I think he might. Yeah, he is, because he came here way under 21. So he's homegrown as well. You got to throw that on top of it. Yeah, 30, 40 million. You'd have to say that's his value, and you'd have to accept it at the same time.
What we should do is, if Madrid want him, ask for 40 million and then just send him the twin instead and never tell him.
Just nick him from Dortmund.
Dortmund might have something to say about that. That might be a stumbling block.
Loan him first and then get him out.
Yeah, get the twin on loan and then send him off to Atletico.
Like she said, I've been a big fan of Bruno's when I saw them in the 21s, and I've been delighted he's like coming to the first team, and it's hardly put a foot wrong, but he's quite young, so the value should be high, but then also he's only got about 10 to 15 Premier League games under his belt, or however many he's played, probably a bit more than that, but he's done well. So if they want him, there's a deal to be done. But I mean, I'd known Fosun. I'd like to think that we would charge the earth for him, and like Stu says, if Chelsea are involved, put the Chelsea tax on top as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've gone on a little bit later tonight, but fuck it, we enjoyed it. So looking at the table, 15th, we've pulled ourselves another little couple of points gap. Looking ahead, we've got Southampton, Fulham in the next couple of games. How do we see that going? How many points do you reckon we're going to get out the next couple of games? We'll go to Luke first. What do you reckon? 6 points?
See, I don't want to get carried away. This is the thing, because Wolves will do this to you. But yeah, we're going to get 6 points. Do you know what? There's no reason not to feel optimistic now. And we've got the best manager in the world managing the team. We've got some of the best players in the world. We are literally one of the best teams in the world. So 6 from 6. Bournemouth and Southampton, is it?
Southampton,
Southampton
Fulham,
next
and
week.
then
Sorry, Southampton,
and then
Fulham.
Bournemouth after
The games we've got to win. If we're being maybe not so much. Fulham's away, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, Friday night, I think.
So you know,
Southampton away.
Bournemouth, then Fulham.
Home.
Oh, yeah.
So I completely. I got a clue what I'm talking about here. So, would you take a point at Southampton, or have we just got to look at it now? No, let's get the 6 points. I think 6 from 6. Dust the passports off.
I love the positivity. Stu, come on, give us some positivity.
Well, so, if you heard the wise words of the genius that is Nathan Jones today, depends who's making decisions for him at the weekend. He sounds like a footballing cook to me. You've got to be smashing them here. I mean, they're shit. They're absolutely atrocious. They're so bad. Anything other than a win there is not acceptable. I know where we are in the league and whatever, but you have to beat Southampton. It doesn't matter where they are, if you're home or away. And then you're coming up against Bournemouth at home, who look the guy with I can't remember his name. The guy with the dreads who played yesterday, the first time he ran. He carried the ball well, and a couple of runs. I ain't seen him before. He looked decent for them. Other than that, they're still Bournemouth, haven't they? And drawing against them was one of the worst games of the season earlier on under Lage. And again, they're not very good, and we are. We've just battered Liverpool 3-0, and deservedly so. And if you can't think, therefore I play, as Mr. Neves has proved over and over again, we're playing two of the worst teams on form and squad depth and players of selection in the league. 6 points, easy. And
you, Pricey, you're gonna dust the passport off, send a renewal application into the passport office up in Liverpool. What do you think?
I shall, yes. I'll get the Brexit visa sorted for travels into Europe. I mean, if we're incorporating Fulham into this as well, I mean, they're the sticky wicket out of the three, but 6 points minimum out of the next 3 games, I'd say. Something bad has to happen for Southampton to beat us. Something really bad has to happen for Southampton to beat us. They are shit. And Bournemouth, as
they've
we
got
said,
the James Ward players free kick tax, though, are they? That's the only thing that worries me.
They have. I mean, it says a lot, isn't it, when your team's best hope is hoping someone smacks a free kick in from 25 yards at least a couple of times a game. But Nathan Jones has got very much the Dean Saunders about him for me. He just looks terrible and sounds terrible. They are terrible. It's going to be a coupon buster, isn't it? It's now the way we're talking about it. But we definitely should be beating Southampton and Bournemouth, given what we've just seen, and given the players now we've got at our disposal. Fulham will be a bit trickier, but we've got to look at it like this little mini league now down the bottom until we get ourselves proper out of it. How we're faring against the teams of like your Southamptons, your Bournemouths, Leeds, and West Hams, and all the rest of it. I mean, like Forest are still quite a few points ahead of us, and we were joking at the start of the season that they were laughably shit. So they're 4 points ahead of us. So hopefully, given the results of Southampton and Bournemouth, I'd like to think we go back above them. They are slowly starting to get themselves sorted a bit now, Forest are, but just got to keep doing what we do. Whatever we worked for us yesterday, just do what we do. We'll pull ourselves away slowly from the league, and then in about 10 games time, when we start getting close to the running, we can see what might be on offer then. But let's just keep doing what we're doing.
Yep, perfect. So that's a lovely way to wrap up the show, and we were looking forward to it. We've had a great game yesterday. The future is bright. The future is Wolves. So, yeah, good night from myself. Sorry. Good night from Stu.
Goodbye,
Luke.
See you later.
Pricey.
Adios,
my amigo. So yeah, good to talk to you guys again. Good for you guys. Thanks for all the comments. YouTube, Facebook, all those lovely places. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe on YouTube, If you're listening on Spotify or wherever you may get your podcast, appreciate you. Love you all. Interact with us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you might find us, all at Wolves Fancast. And until next time, goodbye.